On live. Thank you once again for sitting down with Behind the Final Call cover story. A little later on in the week again, but hey, we're making it happen. So this is volume number 39, number 3. Date on the paper is October 29th, 2019. Cover story is Blaming Victims. Brother Richard, why this cover story? I'm putting you to sleep.
No, I hope to be wide awake. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
This story was really sparked by a couple things. One, the case of a Tatiana Jefferson in Dallas, who was killed in her home by a police officer. And one of the things that was striking after this killing of her in her own home by an officer that was asked to execute a well-being check, in addition to the tragedy of her death, was the insult of how authorities responded at a certain point. So they put out a picture of a gun and some information about immediately afterward. And then later, when they put out an arrest warrant for the officer who shot her, they then said that her 8-year-old nephew, who was there with her, said that she pointed a gun toward a window. Very troubling because it fit a pattern of blaming black victims when they lose their lives, whether it's in police violence, vigilante violence, or whatever. So we looked at the case of Tatiana Jefferson. We looked at the case of others, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, and the way that you blame the victim is you do things like you present things from their past, or you present things that insinuate somehow or another they were involved in some kind of nefarious activity. Right. The other brother, Botham Jean, killed in his apartment in Dallas. Now, Tatiana Jefferson was killed in Fort Worth, Texas. Nearby, Botham Jean was killed in his apartment in Dallas. Dallas police, shortly after he was killed by a white police officer in his own apartment, may I mind you again, put out some information about him having marijuana in his apartment. So the same smearing of black victims, re-victimizing blacks, and it sets up different ways. In the Trayvon Martin trial, it's set up when defense lawyers portrayed him as some kind of brute, and it actually goes, thinking about it, it goes all the way back to Rodney King. If you think about when he was beaten, right? And what they presented was this picture of this big black brute who just can't be contained. Well, they clearly beat this man to within an inch of his life. So read the story. You'll get some insight. Good interview with attorney Lee Merritt, who represents the family of a Tatiana Jefferson. And we think it's a pretty good story.
Yes, thank you very much. Then just actually the story that is found on page 2, looking at corruption, some dirty cops in your hometown.
In the hometown.
And be more.
Yeah. Well, State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby has been really kind of fighting a battle since the death of Freddie Gray a few years ago. And so she recently did 2 things. One, she wants to have about 800 convictions thrown out because the cops involved in these trials are tainted in some way. Some have been convicted in a major criminal scandal. Others were implicated in that scandal. Others were implicated in other scandals. And others just don't have good reputation. So that's one, trying to throw out 800 convictions. But the other thing is that she has hundreds of police officers whose reputations are not good. There's something that the prosecutor's office see, and when she sees those things, she refers them to the police department for action. Now, I think this is huge. How do you get justice in a police department, one that has a history of selling drugs, robbing people, brutalizing people, and did I say selling drugs? Not stopping drugs, selling drugs, as well as even stealing overtime. So how do you, and then you couple that with hundreds of officers who are suspect. What does that mean for justice in Baltimore? What does that mean for law enforcement? So this article deals with that. And again, it's the type of information that we need, and the type of things that we need to look at when we look at what's happening in our communities and why.
Well, thank you for that, and of course we have, unfortunately, recently one of those soldiers that have fought in the political arena for our people, and that's Congressman Elijah Cummings, who recently passed at
Also
the age,
from Baltimore.
Also from Baltimore at the age of 68.
Congressman Cummings, long time member of the Congressional Black Caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives. He has been one of the most ardent supporters of holding President Trump accountable. He was out on the street during the uprising after the death of Freddie Gray. So this is again a situation where, we look at him and his life's work, and we salute and thank him for the best of what he's done to move our people forward. And Andy had a lot of impact on a lot of people, Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Of course, we're right here live as always in the foodie spot, and you can see our people are coming in.
7150.
7350.
7350 South Stony Island.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
So,
okay.
Of course, you mentioned the work that Elijah Cummings did with holding your president, Donald Trump, accountable. And of course, it gets a little more interesting as things go by with your president.
Day by day, I don't know why he got to be my president like I'm claiming. But we've seen this now, this impeachment situation where the president is accused of wrongdoing. He's accused of basically blackmailing or threatening the president of Ukraine, telling him he had to investigate Joe Biden, who is a likely or possible political foe for the president in the 2020 presidential election, right? So, and this thing seems to get crazier and crazier. You had 2 Ukrainian Americans who were arrested recently within the past week or so, accused of trying to do some untoward things in terms of raising money and distributing money. So it gets stranger and stranger. So keep watching and keep reading, and you'll stay on top of what's going on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Of course, we're still in the process of commemorating the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his address, but more importantly, not just about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, really about looking at our responsibility as our people enjoy the recent 24th anniversary of the Holy Day of Atonement, Million Man March. And so we have several photos of people from around the country that you can see that and sharing those experiences. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to jump, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, because there's a lot, of course, as I always say, in international news. But I want to acknowledge that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was recently acknowledged, went out to acknowledge the first black elected mayor of a major U.S. city, and that honored Richard Gordon Hatcher in the Gary City Hall. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, that was really a great event. They actually have a statue now that marks or celebrates, commemorates Mayor Hatcher. And I think it's a beautiful thing, because Mayor Hatcher is still with us, so he was able to see this honor happen. His family and other members, his family members and others were part of it. And when Mayor Hatcher became the mayor of Gary, it was a major accomplishment. And there were also some political other things. There was the Gary Political Convention that was very important. So he really represented something special, and the fact that when he became mayor, there was like a backlash, and the whites pulled out and pulled the economic strength out and started building in the surrounding areas, like nearby, like almost like right across the street. So we see once again that in this society, even when we progress, even when we gain power, there's always an effort to blunt our power. There's always an effort to destroy our power, as those who have destroyed us continue to try to stay in power and keep a lock on us.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up. I don't even know where to go next, except I know that people need to make sure that they get the latest edition of the Final Call newspaper so that they can read all of the articles. You can get a subscription, a digital edition subscription of the paper. And of course, you're always welcome to get the physical paper from the brothers you see out in the street and in the community. So where are we going next?
I mean, we got a bunch of stuff in international that I think is worthy of reading. But I want to call attention to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article, Old World Going Out, New World Coming In. We really have to look at the majesty of this man's message and the supreme wisdom that he gave us, right? We have to really take a look at that because he was telling us what was happening, what to expect, and it's all coming true before our eyes. So we're seeing unrest and we're seeing fighting and wars all around the globe. So his messages are vitally important. And of course, right along with him, very proud to present part 2 of edited transcript from the minister's message on October 13th from Chicago. Again, really powerfully, some of the themes. Talks about how does Jesus use a man. Talked about some of the talked about the situation in Iran. I mean, it's just packed with a bunch of information. So you want to take your time and definitely read that. And every week, stay tuned. Every week, share, this little program. But continue to enlighten yourself because this is a day we don't need to be in the dark as the world is shutting down and as the forces of darkness are working double time to try to bring everybody else down with them.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Man, I think we covered all. Well, let's touch on some international news. Is there something in there that, of course, all of it, we recommend, of course, that you get the paper yourself?
Yeah.
So you can get all
we
the
got
information.
a couple things. One, Eritrea's prime minister has been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to bring peace and harmony and rights to Ethiopia. So it's a really huge deal. Then we have the 75th anniversary of the United Nations will be coming up, and as that anniversary draws near, you're having a rise of right-wing nationalism, widespread authoritarianism, and budget cuts. So the question is, what does this mix of factors mean for the world? What does it mean for the United Nations? So again, you get back to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Old world going out, new world coming in.
Thank you very much. I want to thank those who have joined us live. And please make sure that you share this. And we plan on being back on track. We faded for a little while, but we've been back on a little consistent for at least for the past 3 weeks. You can watch the archive, so please do that. Brother Richard, I don't have any much to say except that they need to make sure that they check out this latest edition. If they see the brothers in the street, please support them. It's not just about the paper. Of course, it's helping to build the economy of the black community, but it also, just our presence allows us to make our community a better place and decent place.
And you need an independent source of information. We will never be free depending solely on our enemy for information, for perspective, for analysis. So we have to do that for ourselves. So the stronger the Final Call is, the stronger we can execute our mission of awakening, enlightening, and warning our people. So we got a bright future ahead by Allah's grace. But we say get involved. And if you just help us, you're helping us to help you. FinalCall.com, you can pick up these articles. And 7350 South Stony Island Avenue, come on by the foodie spot in support of another black institution which has great food that's also supporting the community. This past weekend, they just went out and fed homeless people, which they've been doing for a number of years.
Yes, sir.
So this is an institution that is the epitome of what it is to be a black business. Great service, great food, and a great mission.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I have to send a shout out for those who may be in the Mississippi, Memphis area. I guess it's like Coldwater, or I can't even remember the city in Mississippi, but it's near Memphis. So if you're in the Memphis area along the border of Mississippi, then please join Dr. Ava Muhammad, the national spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for another town hall meeting, Project Separation. You can find it if you search the internet, or you can go to projectseparation.com to get more information about that. But please join us. Until next time, Behind the Final Call Cover Story. Peace.